Alrighty guys, so today we are going to be doing the review for our first quiz. So that might freak you guys out a little bit because it is the first quiz in this class, but I'm just here to go over all the material that's going to be on the quiz. You'll also have an assignment where you review problems very similar to the ones that you're going to be doing on the quiz. So hopefully it kind of alleviates your fears before we get started. So I want to encourage you guys again to take notes and to do the problems with me as you're watching the video. But in order to do that, you're going to need two things before you start. Same thing as usual. You're going to need a copy of the periodic table, and you are also going to need a calculator. So just make sure you have those two things handy so that while you're doing the problems with me during the course of this video, you guys can do the problems on your own as well. Alright, so first let's go over the three different things that you're going to need to know in order to do well on the quiz. The first thing is you're going to need to be able to identify elements on the periodic table. So basically, when you look at a periodic table, can you tell me how many protons there are? So like, how many protons that atom is going to have? Can you tell me the name of the element? Can you give me the symbol? Okay, that's what I mean. If you know how to do those things, you should be fine with the first part. The second thing is calculating an isotope's mass number. So basically, you just need to know that the mass number is equal to the protons plus the neutrons. So when you have an isotope, which is a different type of the same element, the number that goes at the end, so like for example, let's say I have, I don't know, lithium 6. You have to know that this number in the back is the mass number. Okay, so we'll go over all this in just a second, but just to give you a preview of what you need to know. Also, you need to know how to draw atoms, so just know that the protons and the neutrons are in the middle, so in the nucleus, and know that the electrons, they fly around the nucleus. Okay, so that's just kind of a brief overview of the things you need to know. But we're going to go through some practice problems, which are very similar to the ones you'll have on your assignment today and on the quiz. So it'll be very helpful for you guys. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to complete this table right here. I want you guys to be very careful though before you guys whenever you're taking a quiz or doing an assignment, you want to make sure you read all the directions. So here it says complete the table below. And then it says assume all the atoms are neutral. Okay, that word neutral, it means that there's no electric charge. Oops, sorry, that's behind my face, isn't it? Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so when it says that an atom is neutral, it means that there is no electric charge. Okay, it means that it's not positive, it's not negative. It means that the positive and negative of the protons and the electrons are balanced out. Okay, so if an atom is neutral, it means that there are the same number of protons and electrons. Okay, so whenever you see this word neutral, if an atom is neutral, it means that there are the same number of protons and electrons. So what that means is whatever is going to be in this box is going to be in this box. So these two boxes are going to be equal. Okay, so just keep that in mind and make sure you guys read the directions because, hint, hint, if it says it's not neutral, that means there's going to be a different number of protons and electrons. Just keep that in mind. Make sure you read the directions carefully. All right, so let's start filling out this table. So we have our first element. It says that our element is hydrogen. So in order to fill out the symbol, the number of protons, and the number of electrons, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go look on the periodic table. So I'm going to pull out my periodic table. And it says that we are looking at hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen is on the top left. So we automatically see that the symbol for hydrogen is H. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put in the H. Let me make this a little bit smaller so we can see the question. All right. Okay, so the symbol for hydrogen is that big letter that's in the middle of the box. Okay, so it's that H, so the symbol for hydrogen is H, and we get it right here. All right, the number of protons is always going to be the number on top of the box. This is called the atomic number. It's kind of like the ID number for all the elements. Hydrogen, the number on top is 1, so the atomic number is 1. And this atomic number also tells you the number of protons hydrogen has. So that means hydrogen has the number 1. Okay, and we get that number right there. All right. Next, we need the number of electrons, but we said that the atoms are neutral. That means that there are the same number of protons and electrons. That means that there's also going to be 1 electron. All right, so that's how you would do one of the rows. We have hydrogen, the symbol is H, there's 1 proton, and there is 1 electron because it is neutral. Okay, so let's try one more, and then I'll let you guys try a couple problems on your own. It says to find the element that has the symbol PO. So that's my initials actually, PO. It wasn't intentional, but it's kind of fun. So we're going to look for PO on the periodic table. And if you go towards, I guess, the bottom right, so make sure you guys find that on your periodic table, you're going to see the symbol PO. Right there, number 84. So since it's number 84, we know that it has 84 protons. And since it's neutral, it's going to also have 84 electrons. And then the last thing we want to do is just write the name. The name is written right here. It says polonium. So we're going to write polonium. All right, so should be pretty simple. If you guys feel confident, take a second to pause the video and try out the problems on your own. If not, just keep following along so that you guys can go over the next couple problems with me. But I do encourage you guys, if you feel confident, do the problems on your own because I'm going to start speeding up a little here. Okay, so our next one that we're looking at, the next element we're looking at, it only gives us a number. It gives us protons, 74 protons. So we know that that has to do with the number on top. So we're going to go on the periodic table and look for the element that has 74 on the top of the box. We find it right here in the middle. There's 74, and it looks like the symbol is W. So we're going to write W. And the name is going to be tungsten. Okay, how they got W from tungsten, I don't know, but that's going to be the name. The name is tungsten, the symbol is W, and remember, the elements are neutral here, so it's going to be 74, the same protons as electrons. All right, the next one that we're going to be looking at is CS. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom left, and if you go to the bottom left, you're going to find, nope, not there. We're going to find the element CS on the bottom left. Okay, CS, the name is cesium, so we're going to write cesium. The number on top is 55, that means it has 55 protons. Since it's neutral, it has 55 electrons. All right, and for our last row, we have the element with the symbol Fe. So if we go to the middle, we'll find Fe, and you'll see that Fe is iron. Okay, the number on top is 26, so we have 26 protons, and since it's neutral, it has 26 electrons. All right, so just make sure that you guys are comfortable finding the element name, the symbol, the protons, and the electrons for different atoms. All right, let's move on to the next concept. So the next concept you need to know is what is an isotope? Okay, and what makes isotopes different from other isotopes of the same element? So remember what I said about reading the directions carefully? If you notice, there are two problems here. The first problem that it's asking you about is what is an isotope? So I'm going to say that that's problem A, 2A. And then it also asks us what makes an isotope different from other isotopes of the same element. So we need to answer both parts of the question. Okay, so let's answer 2A first. Okay, so what is an isotope? Okay, simply put, an isotope it's a different type of the same element. Okay, an isotope is just a different type of the same element. In our lecture video about isotopes last time, we talked about how we have different types of soda, right? We have like Coke, and then there's different types of Coke, right? There's Diet Coke, there's Coke Zero, there's Cherry Coke, and the list goes on and on. Just like how there's different types of Coke, if we have an element, let's say, for example, like oxygen, there's different types of the same element. Okay, just like how there's different types of Coke, there's different types of oxygen. We have things like oxygen 14, oxygen 15, and so on and so forth. I'll just write one more, oxygen 16. Okay, so the answer here would be isotopes are different types of the same element. Okay, just like how you can have different types of the same soda, you can have different types of the same element. Okay, so that's 2A. Now let's answer question 2B. Okay, what makes one isotope different from other isotopes of the same element? Okay, what makes them different is that isotopes, they have the same number of protons. Okay, but what makes them different is that they have different number of neutrons. Okay, so every isotope of the same element will have the same number of protons, but they'll have different number of neutrons. So if you notice, let's take a look at our oxygen example. They're all oxygen. It doesn't matter if it's oxygen 14, 15, or 16, they're still oxygen. And since they're all oxygen, they're going to have the same number of protons. So let me just erase this real quick. So if we look for oxygen on the periodic table, so if you guys have that out, make sure you find oxygen. Oxygen is on the top right. Okay, so oxygen, if you notice, it has 8 protons. So every single one of these oxygens, oxygen 14 is going to have 8 protons. Oxygen 15 is going to have 8 protons. Oxygen 16 is going to have 8 protons. Okay, but what makes them different is the number of neutrons. So oxygen 14 has a different number of neutrons than 15 and 16, and the other way around too. So the way that we find the number of neutrons is this number here in the back. This number here in the back is called the mass number. And the mass number is equal to the protons plus the neutrons. Okay, so if we wanted to find out how many neutrons all of these atoms have, all we need to do is plug in the numbers into this formula. Okay, so let's start with the top, oxygen 14. The number in the back is the mass number, so we'll put 14 right here. Since it's oxygen, it still has 8 protons, so it has 8, and we have the neutrons. Okay, so in order to get neutrons by itself, we just need to subtract 8 on both sides. Okay, so these can cancel out. 14 minus 8 is going to be 6. So that means there are 6 neutrons in oxygen 14. Oxygen 14 has 6 neutrons. Okay, so you guys can do the same for the other ones. I'll give you guys a second. If you guys feel ready to do this on your own, feel free to pause the video and try it on your own. If not, that's totally okay. I'll go through the rest of them very, very quickly. So we have oxygen 15 and we have 16. Let's do 15. We're going to plug in 15 for the mass number because it's a number on the back. It's oxygen still, so we have 8 protons. So how many neutrons? So 8 plus what equals 15? Probably going to be 7. Okay, so oxygen 15 has 8 protons, 7 neutrons. And then lastly, oxygen 16, 8 plus what equals 16? It's going to be 8. Okay, so there you go. The answer is, for these, is oxygen 14 has 8 protons, 6 neutrons. Oxygen 15 has 8 protons, 7 neutrons. And oxygen 16 has 8 protons and 8, oops, I wrote protons, but it should be 8 neutrons. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so to answer both parts of the question, what's an isotope? An isotope is a different type of the same element. And what makes one isotope different from other isotopes? It's this, they have the same protons, but they have a different number of neutrons. Alrighty, guys, let's go on to the next problem. Okay, so during the quiz and your assignment, you're also going to need to complete a table like this. Now, it looks like there's a lot more information, but it's basically the same stuff that we've been doing. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. We have sodium 25. So we know that the element is sodium, so what we're going to do is we're going to go on our periodic table and we're going to look for sodium. So sodium is going to be all the way on the left. So when you find sodium, you notice that the number on top is 11. We said that this is the number of protons, so we're going to put 11 right here. Okay, we said today that all the elements are going to be neutral, so that means that protons and electrons are going to be the same. So it's going to be 11. Okay, it looks like the symbol for sodium is Na, and if you guys remember how to do the symbol, we just put the symbol in the box, and then what we do is we put the mass number, this number in the back, on the top left. So it'll be 25 on the top left, and then Na. There you go. We got the name, the symbol, the protons. We can also do the mass number, because the number on the back is a mass number, so it's 25. All we need to do now is find the neutrons, and that's pretty easy. All we need to do is remember that the mass number is equal to the protons plus the neutrons, so we just need to plug it in. 25, and we know that there's 11 protons, so how many neutrons? So you can just plug that into your calculator. You can do 25 minus 11. So if you guys go on your calculator and do that, you'll find that it's 14. Okay, so all we did was 25 minus the protons to get 14. And there you go. That's your row. Pretty simple. Okay, so if you feel ready to just fill out the table on your own, go ahead and do so. But I know this is still kind of new, so we'll take it step by step. I'll still go slowly as we go through a couple more of these examples. Okay, let's go to the next problem. Okay, the next one, it says that we have 30 protons. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the periodic table and look for the number 30. Okay, you're going to go over to kind of like the middle right, and you find the number 30. It looks like the name of that element is zinc. So I'm going to write zinc. Okay, but it looks like we still need to write the mass number. So we have to write dash. And the way that we get this mass number is we need to add the protons and the neutrons. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 30 plus 35, and you should get 65 for the mass number. So this number in the back is the mass number, and the mass number is the protons plus the neutrons. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'll write the formula somewhere a little bit easier to read. The mass number is protons plus neutrons. Okay, so we have the mass number, so we can fill in this box with 65. Remember, we said that the atoms are neutral, so since we have 30 protons, we have 30 electrons. And then for the symbol, we just need to write the symbol for zinc, which is Zn. And all we need to do is write the mass number on the top left, so we have 65. And there you go. That's going to be how we fill that out. So it's basically just another variation. I'm going to give you different types of information, and you just need to figure out the rest of them. Okay, so let's do another one together. So we have 60, and then we have Se. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for Se on the periodic table. So we're going to go to the right, and then you should find Se. Okay, it looks like it has the number 34 on the top, which means it has 34 protons. And we said that it's neutral, so the number of protons and electrons are going to be equal. The name of the element is selenium. So we're going to write selenium. And remember, the number on the top left right here is the mass number. So we're going to do selenium dash 60. And since we know the mass number, it's going to be 60. Alright, the last thing to find is the number of neutrons. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this formula. The mass number is protons plus electrons. So what we're going to do is we're going to write 60, because that's the mass number, is equal to the number of protons, 34, plus the number of neutrons, which is what we're looking for. So what we're doing here is we're doing the mass number equals protons plus neutrons. And since we're looking for neutrons, what we're going to do is we're just going to subtract 34 on both sides. These are going to cancel out, and then you should get 26. So the number of neutrons is going to be 26. And if you want to check your answers, the protons and the neutrons, if you add them together, they should equal the mass number, which is 60. Okay, so that's another way you can check your answers. Okay, so hopefully as we're doing these problems, it's kind of building your guys' confidence. We're not doing anything new. We're always basically using the same formula. We're just doing it in different variations. All right, so again, if you feel confident, go ahead and try this on your own, and you could skip to the part where I give you the answer. But if not, let's go through some more problems if you need some more help. All right, so here it looks like it gives us the number of protons. It says that it's 79. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on the periodic table and look for the number 79. Okay, probably one of my favorite elements. 79 is gold. So we're going to write the name gold. But we need to write the mass number, and it gives us the mass number, which is 150. So it'll be gold dash 150. For the symbol, it looks like the symbol for gold is AU. So we're going to write AU. And then, remember, the mass number goes on the top left. So 150 AU. We said that protons and electrons are going to be the same because they're neutral. So we'll write 79 because these two will be equal. And in order to find the number of neutrons, we need to use this formula right here. So we're going to do the mass number, which is 150, equals the number of protons, which is 79, plus neutrons. And if you want to solve for neutrons, we just need to subtract 79 on both sides. These will cancel out, and then you guys can punch this into your calculator. If you guys can do it in your head, great job. But if not, that's totally fine because I'm going to use a calculator. 150 minus 79 is going to give you 71. So your answer here will be 71 neutrons. All right, so it should be pretty simple. Again, we're basically doing the same thing, but we'll do one last problem together. So we have oxygen 20. So you see the name oxygen, so we're going to go find oxygen on the periodic table. And if you go find oxygen, you'll find it on the top right. Okay. So oxygen, the number on top of oxygen is going to be the number 8, and that's the proton. So we're going to plug that in right here, 8. We know protons and electrons are the same because they're neutral, so we're going to write 8. The symbol for oxygen is very simple. It's just O. And then we're going to write the mass number 20 on the top left. And that's also the mass number here. For the number of neutrons, very simple. Same thing we've been doing. We just need to use this formula right here. The mass number is 20 equals how many protons? 8 plus the number of neutrons is what we're looking for. So we'll just subtract 8 from both sides. 8 minus 8 cancels out, and then 20 minus 8 is 12, so the number of neutrons is 12. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys feel a little more confident about writing the isotope name and the isotope symbols, finding out how many protons and neutrons there are. But that's basically going to be the extent for your quiz. Won't get too much more difficult than this. All right, so the last thing we're going to be doing is kind of building on the same things that we've been doing up until this point, but we're going to be drawing pictures of the atoms. All right, so this might seem a little bit more difficult, but it's actually very, very simple, and we're just going to be doing the same techniques that we've been doing up until this point. Okay, so let's take a look at helium-5. Okay, so whenever we want to draw a picture of the atom, we need to know three things. We need to know how many protons there are, we need to know how many neutrons there are, and we also need to know how many electrons there are. Okay, so helium-5. So let's draw a picture of helium-5 right here. So we find helium on the periodic table. Let's figure out how many protons there are. It looks like there's two protons because the number on top is 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw 2 protons in the middle, and we're going to signify that with a plus sign. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is figure out how many neutrons there are. It looks like the mass number is 5. And if we remember, this number right here is the protons plus the neutrons. So if helium has 2 protons, right, it has 2 protons, and in order to get to 5, we need the number of neutrons needed to get to 5 is going to be 2 plus something else. So 2 plus what equals 5? Okay, it's 3. 3 neutrons. And if you feel more comfortable doing it the normal way, where we do 5 minus 2, or 5 equals 2 protons with the neutrons, and you subtract by 2, that's totally fine. You'll get the same number, 3. 3 neutrons. And just know the neutrons are located in the middle with the protons. So we're going to draw them touching the protons. Okay, now we just need to find the electrons. We said that the atoms are neutral, so it's going to be the same. There's going to be 2 electrons. And the electrons fly around the nucleus. So we're going to just draw that. Actually, let's make it a little bit easier on ourselves and just draw circles with minus signs. Okay, so there's going to be 2 electrons. Okay, you can draw the electrons wherever you want. Just make sure they're not touching the nucleus. Okay, and that's what a helium-5 atom is going to look like. Okay, just like that. All right, so if you feel confident, you can go ahead and try this on your own. But I'm going to be going over it step by step for everyone else. Okay, because this is the last set of problems. Okay, the next atom that we're looking at is 10B. So we're going to look for B on the periodic table. Okay, so if you look for B, you'll find that the element is boron, and it looks like the number on top is 5. And we know that the number on top tells us the number of protons. Okay, that means that boron right here, it has 5 protons. Okay, since this atom is neutral, we also know that this boron is going to have 5 electrons. So we got 2 out of the 3 already, just by finding it on the periodic table. The last thing we're going to do is find the neutrons. And in order to find the neutrons, we need to use this number. Remember, the number on the top left is the mass number, and that is equal to the protons plus the neutrons. Okay, so if we have 10 as the mass number, I'll write it right here. 10 equals how many protons? 5 plus, we don't know the neutrons, so we're just going to write neutrons. We're going to get neutrons by itself, we're going to subtract by 5 on both sides. 5 and 5 cancel out, so we do 10 minus 5 to give us 5 neutrons. So that means that 10B is going to have 5 neutrons. So it's a very pretty problem because we have 5 protons, 5 neutrons, 5 electrons. Okay, so let's draw the picture. So for our picture, we're going to draw 5 protons and 5 neutrons in the middle, because the middle has 2 of them. So we're going to draw a proton. We're going to make sure that we have 5. And then we also need 5 neutrons. So we're going to draw 1 neutron, 2 neutrons, 3, 4, and 5. And then lastly, 5 electrons. So just make sure around the nucleus we have 5 electrons. Okay, and you can draw them wherever. Just make sure they're surrounding the nucleus. And there you go. That's going to be our picture of 10B. Okay, we can write the name if you want, boron 10. Okay, and the symbol for this one right here is going to be 5He. Alrighty guys, let's do the last problem and then we'll be all done for today. Okay, it says look for lithium-3. So if you go all the way to the left of the periodic table, you're going to find lithium over there. Okay, so it looks like the number for lithium's atomic number, the number on the top of the box, is going to be 3. And we said that 3, or the number on top, is the number of protons. So lithium-3 has 3 protons. We also know since it's neutral, it's going to have 3 electrons. So the question is, how many neutrons does it have? Okay, remember this formula, mass number equals protons plus neutrons. So if the mass number is the number in the back, it's 3. We're going to do equals protons is 3 plus neutrons. So here, let's just think about this. 3 plus what equals 3? 0, right? If you're already at 3, you don't need to add anymore. So there's going to be 0 neutrons here. So it's possible to have 0 neutrons. So we have 3 protons, 0 neutrons, and 3 electrons. So when we draw the picture for this problem, we just need to draw 3 protons in the middle because there are no neutrons. We don't need to draw anything else in the middle. 3 protons. And then we just need to make sure that there are 3 electrons flying around. And there you go. You have your picture of lithium-3. Another way you can write it is 3Li. Alrighty guys, so hopefully that was helpful and gives you guys a little bit more confidence when it comes to drawing the pictures, finding the isotope numbers, things like that. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you're going to work on the assignment that's posted with this on Canvas. I'm still on Zoom if you guys need any help, so please let me know if you have any questions so that I can help you guys out before you take the quiz. Okay, I want to make sure that you guys get off on the right foot and do well on your first quiz, so please let me know if you have any questions. But other than that, good luck on your assignment and quiz, and we'll see you next time.